Hello everyone, George DeSantis here with the look at the market for the week ending May 6th, 2016. Let's start off as usual by looking at the monthly chart of the S&P 500. So here we have the monthly chart of the S&P 500. Last week I mentioned that the parabolic yellow dot was hit by this bar, and we were waiting to see if it would drop below the most current bar, which is now the May's bar, the month of May, and the parabolic is way below it. What that does is signals that this downtrend is now reversed. The parabolic indicator is called the parabolic stop and reverse indicator. And when the parabolic dot is below the most current bar, it means that the trend is up. It switched from down to up. Now, since this is a monthly chart, I personally feel that this is significant because this is that long-term chart. And you can see here that once the parabolic is below the bars, the trend is up. Once it started weakening and it hit the parabolic here, the trend became reversed and the trend was down. Now at the bottom of the chart, no, in the middle of the chart, we have MACD, and MACD continues to trend up from below the zero line. And also Elder Force is below, it's above the zero line, but it's trending now a little bit, not significant in that sense. So as far as this chart is concerned, it is now bullish, and that's the monthly chart. So that's pretty significant to me. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. Now on this weekly chart of the S&P 500, we can see that we are still caught between this resistance level here, like around 2100 or somewhat below that, and the support level of 2046. Notice how we just barely dropped below the 2046 level here because we made a low of 2039, and this is a spinning top, a doji type spinning top, which suggests that the market is undecided. So right now we're still looking for the direction to be determined by at least the weekly chart. Are we going to continue in this consolidation phase? Is it a consolidation phase? Or are we going to continue to go further down or break to the upside? Of course, all that takes some time to develop. Below here we find that the parabolic is below most current bar, which is last week's bar. So the trend is up according to this indicator. There is no indication to reverse to a downtrend. The Kalman filter remains above the instantaneous trend line, and that's bullish. So in the middle of the chart, we have the RSI 12, which we usually use on the weekly chart. It has trended down a bit, but it still remains above the 50% line. So I don't believe there's any reason to be concerned here relative to this RSI indicator. We're still in an uptrend. MACD is above the zero line. It's trended down a little bit, but that is not unusual when you have an uptrend like this. So there is no divergence or anything to be concerned about here. So that confirms the uptrend. Percent R is still above 80. It's just sitting at the 80% line. And I usually consider this to be a momentum indicator. Therefore, the momentum is still pretty good, although we've lost some of it. So the monthly chart turned around. It's now in an uptrend. And the weekly chart continues to remain in an uptrend according to most of these indicators here. We are waiting to see whether support will continue to hold at 2046 or whether this doji spinning top, as it's called, a candlestick, will signal a reversal to the upside. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Now here's one of the daily charts that we've been looking at for some weeks now. And on this chart, we have, as you know, the 930 approach. So the 930 trading system. This is a 9 EMA, the yellow line. The 30 WMA is the blue line. Well, the 9 crossed below the 30. So this signals a downtrend according to the 930 approach. the parabolic is above the most recent bar, so the parabolic is also signaling that we're on downtrend on the daily chart. When we look at the candlestick patterns, we find that once this market came back here, once the S&P came back here to approach the support, what I considered a possible support level at 2046 or so, we had a number of small body dojis. So that was signaling uncertainty about the direction of the market. Investors and traders were uncertain as to what direction this thing will go. Now, on Friday, we had a bullish engulfing candlestick. The body of this candlestick totally engulfed the body of this one. And that's a bullish indication. So quite possibly the 2046 level is going to mark the end of the retracement here. And if that's the case, this will be just that. This move here will just be a retracement, not a big pullback. And we can hope that's so. And that the market continues to go up. The other scenario, of course, is that we continue to go down to the 2000 level or something like that. My bet is that we are going to hold over 2046, but that's just my opinion for a number of reasons, but I won't go into those now. Now, below here we have RSI 12, and RSI 12 is bumping off the 40% line, and it just ticked up here on Friday. For what I've learned about RSI 12 using that indicator, we seldom see the RSI 12 above the 40% line in a downtrend. When the market is trending down, you will find RSI 12 below the 40% line. So this is saying, perhaps, to me again, this is suggesting that perhaps we're getting that support that I'm talking about here at 2046. Again, you know, time will tell. We'll see how that plays out. Now at the bottom, on this level here, we have Williams Pro Buying Power, which is Larry Williams, one of his indicators, which I put on the chart here, wrote it in. We find that on Friday, this ticked up and crossed above the zero line again. So perhaps, you know, Friday is a good indication that we might just see some more upside to this market. Our percent R broke below the 50% line, and that's treacherous. Don't like that. I don't like that. But all in all, the daily chart, yes, technically the daily chart, according to these indicators, the 930 is in a downtrend. But the question is, how far down do we go? And do we find support here at this level? Well, we'll find that out in the next couple of weeks or so. I'm holding the stocks I have if you're interested in knowing. Let's take a look at another chart. And here's that other daily chart of the S&P that we usually look at. And in this case, we have the Kalman filter crossing below the instantaneous trend line. And we have the parabolic above that. We saw that on the previous chart. So the trend is down. If we look at the expert indicator, let's take a look and see what the expert indicator is telling us. It's telling us we're in a downtrend. So the market is currently in a downtrend mode. The trend mode is usually characterized by erratic behavior of the face, display, etc. The best strategy is to establish a short position and hold until the end of the downtrend. So insofar as Mesa is concerned, it's telling us, yeah, we know we're in a downtrend on the daily chart. And again, the big question is, do we hold this support here or not? We'll find that out real soon. Now, Jerry Appel's sum of the rate of change indicator broke below the 4% line, and it remains there. So this is pretty consistent with the fact that this is indicating, these indicators are showing us we're in a downtrend. And yes, we are. How far down is a big question. Now, MACD ticked up a little bit on Friday, but it is below the zero line. So the bulls have lost some strength here, and the bears have taken control in this area. But are the bulls beginning to gain strength back here, as indication by Friday's movement? We don't know, not yet. Now, percent R seems to be ticking up a little bit as of Friday. So we'll see how this plays out next week. We could very well go lower, but that we'll have to wait and see if we break below the support level of 2046. So let's take a look at something. And here's that daily chart of the S&P with the retracements that I measured all these retracements of about an average of about 40 points. Well, from this high here to this low, this recent low on Friday, we have a 44-point pullback. It's pretty consistent with this average of 40 points. The low here was 2039. Now I calculated the measured move of the head and shoulder pattern, as I told you last week, and that move would take us to 2033. Well, we went to 2039, and so does that mean that this move is over? Not necessarily, but we're pretty close to that measured move of 2033. Again, we'll see how far down we go, or maybe we bump up from here. Let's take a look at something else. Now on this chart from stockcharts.com, we take a look at the impulse bars, and we can see that we have two blue bars in the last 2 weeks. This is a weekly chart. We've had this kind of a situation in an uptrend before, where you get blue bars and you get retracements, and the trend continues. Now this is entirely different in many ways, because we now have this resistance line here that we bumped up against and we pull back. So the big question is, can we really break through this resistance level? That is the biggie. That's the big question. We still have the 9 above the 30. The green line is the 9, and in this case the 30 is the red line. So according to weekly chart on this, the trend is up. The volume picked up a bit, which is encouraging, but MACD is still above zero line, and it's pulled back a bit, as we can see here, 3 histograms. At the bottom of the chart, Williams percent R is just sitting at the 20% line. We get worried when it drops below that 20% line on the weekly chart, but so far it's holding here. Okay, so let's take a look at it. Let's change this to the daily chart and see what we got. Now on the daily chart, as we know, the market pulled all the way back. It pulled back to the 90 weighted moving average. No, the 50%, the 50-day moving average, that blue line. Okay, and now we finished above it. We closed above it. We have a blue bar. So maybe we go from red to blue to green. We can only hope that that is the case. Of course, we'll find that out in next week or two. On the daily chart, though, MACD is ticking up a little bit, but that could still happen within a downtrend. This thing is definitely in a downtrend now, okay, on the daily chart. At the bottom of the chart, though, Williams percent R is way below the 20% line. Making an effort to tick up here, but we have to wait and see how this all plays out. So as far as these charts are concerned, the market is in a downtrend on the daily chart, and the big question is, do we continue down? Do we break through the support at 2046 and go even further down to maybe 2000, or do we hold here and find another rally? Time will determine. Have a nice weekend. Enjoy the Kentucky Derby, or Derby, as it's said here, and we'll see you next weekend.